So in today's podcast, we have on Justin Cooper. This will be the second time that he is on the podcast. You didn't see the first time because dummy me screwed it up and somehow deleted the file. So unfortunately, you won't get to see that. But I'm glad to have him back on here again. Talk to him about his finish he had at Toledo Bend, where he put up a fifth place finish. Talk about different tournaments. He's a guide. Talking with him about what it's like to be a guide, the different struggles, pros and cons, what have you. We're just going to dive into it. There really is no agenda here besides just talking to Justin and picking his brain on different things bass fishing. He's got a cool story. I'm excited to share it with you guys. I wish I could have shared it sooner. But again, dummy me, you can make fun of me in the comments. Please do. I deserve it. I'm going to have a blast with this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you guys enjoy. All right. We are recording. Justin Cooper, my man, what's going on?
What's up, brother? How are you, man?
Doing good. Finally, glad to have you back, even though I screwed it up the first time, as I just described to everybody. We had a great conversation, and of course, the file went. So, yeah, fun stuff, especially being me and a dummy. Because I knew it was gonna happen eventually, where I had a hiccup in one of the episodes, but glad you're good about it. So I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man. Hey, technology. You know a lot more than I do. Hey, you're doing better than me, so.
Apparently not enough to do well with the episodes, really, to be careful enough, but it's a work in progress, So yeah, I guess we obviously did this before, but if you want to go give a little bit about yourself, what you're doing now, kind of how you got into fishing, just for everybody listening, because obviously they didn't see it the first time. So if you just want to go ahead and give that whole lay down, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, cool. So I started fishing at a young age with my dad, and fishing never really was a career path for me until I went to college and started college fishing. That's where the really passion for it set in for the tournament side. I was more of a baseball player and rodeo growing up and stuff like that. And but I got into college and to feel that competitive side of me, college fishing was there and an option. So that's what I wanted to do. And me and some buddies kind of got the fishing team back at Northwestern State in Natchitoches, Louisiana. We got that back going and started fishing competitively, and we had some good success. Me and my college partner Johnny Leday, we won a BASS Central Regional on Red River in 2000, and then BASS Wild Card in 2016 on Lake Murray in Oklahoma. And that kind of helped my career. It opened the doors from something else that kind of opened the door for me to where I am now is working for B&M Baits. That company is based out of Natchitoches. The warehouse is in Natchitoches. It's a nationally known brand now.
Yeah.
In every Bass Pro in the Nation, Academy, and stuff like that. And Jacob Porosnik just won the MLS today at Okeechobee. He's a B&M guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that helped me open the doors, meeting Jacob and Cliff and all those guys, and then kind of just talking to them, picking their brain about fishing and stuff. And but I got anyways, I'll keep going. But I got 2 degrees from Northwestern. I got a biomed degree and a natural science degree. My original plan to become a doctor, and the fishing side kind of put a hold on that. Dreams, and so I decided to pursue that career, and now I'm a fishing guide on Toledo Bend and Sam Rayburn, and that's where I grew up. I grew up about 15 minutes from Toledo, so now I've made that lake my career, and it's going good. It's my 3rd year full time. I graduated college in 2017. How I got my start in guiding was Daryl Gleason, buddy. Awesome angler. He's fishing the Classic coming up. He's won an Open. He's now fishing the pro circuit. Had a really good event at Sam Rayburn. And I just kind of started doing some overflow trips for him in the summer when I wasn't in school, and that's turned into me getting my own clients and word of mouth, them telling their friends, and their friends calling me, you know, because they would have a good time. And I'm like, hey, what better to have than guiding to pursue, you know, I can on schedule around tournaments and stuff like that. You're good at it, you know, having a really good year so far with trips. You know, had a couple good tournaments already, so 2020 is off to a good start.
Yeah, it really started with that fifth place finish at Toledo Bend.
Yeah, man, that was definitely a tournament. As soon as I seen it on the schedule, I was really looking forward to. Kind of took a couple weeks off of guiding before then to really put some time and effort and preparation for that event. Spent every day on the water, 10 days in advance before that event. So I was ready for it. Knew if I could get something together that I'd do pretty well. The goal was to make it to the final day, you know, top 10.
Yeah.
And then going to the final day, I was sitting in second. Man, that was just a blessing. That was more than I could have asked. And, you know, I slipped a little bit on the third day. Conditions changed. The wind kind of slicked off and got sunny. And that pushed the bait out of the area. It was where I was at. And unfortunately, the bass went with them. But the only thing I had was that I was doing an offshore deal. I'll kind of talk about that a little bit. I had an offshore pattern going, and that's how I like to fish now.
Yeah.
I love looking at my Lowrance electronics, you know, finding groups of fish and big schools, and that's what I did. Really the week before, I found a couple groups of fish that I was hoping that if they would stay, that I felt like I could do decent. And I ended up having about 8 or 10 groups of fish that I just rotated through the first 2 days. And first day I had 18-10, and the second day I had 17-10. But I just never had a big kicker. That's what I lacked in my bag. Like the first day I was sitting in 6 with 18-10, but I had 4.5 pounders. I had one that was pushing 5, but almost everybody above me had like a 7, an 8. There was even a 10-pounder called.
Yeah, you're more consistent.
If I would have had one like that, yeah, exactly. So, but the area of the lake that I'm in and that I really know, that's what it's known for. It's known for just a lot of 3 to 4 pounders. There's not a lot of those 8 to 10 pounders that live up there, and I'm on the north end of the lake. It's no secret. Everybody knows me. Knows I like the north end of the lake. So, and like I said, I slipped a little bit on the last day. I only had 13 pounds, but hey, I finished 5th. Got a good check. Brought home some hardware. It was a fun tournament for me.
Yeah, it sounds like, because I listened to today actually on the ride home from work. I listened to the Bass University's podcast they just did with Cody Huff, who ended up taking home first in that. And it sounds like what you guys are doing very similar. He was just following schools with his Panoptics, just using his electronics. Like he just wouldn't.
Yeah, man. He really figured it out. Chasing bait with that Panoptics, and he was down on the south end of the lake, and me and Cody talked in the back line. You know, he was sitting in first and I was in second, so we had like an hour to talk to each other before we even weighed in. And way I understood it, that's how he fishes back home. Table Rock, Bull Shoals, like that's kind of his home lakes, and he catches them the same exact way this time of year, just chasing bait around, you know, timber and stuff like that. So that was cool to see him do well doing that. That definitely opened my eyes to a new technique that I'm gonna have to really learn.
Oh, it's unbelievable, because that was what he was describing, was that he wouldn't even make a cast if he didn't see them on his Panoptics. But one thing that I kind of took from it that I thought was kind of interesting that I don't utilize enough, but I could, even up here in New York, is he said how every day he would have to hunt for the fish. And once he found them, obviously he was on them for the rest of the day. He used the loons to find the school of bait fish again. That, to me, like I understand that tactic in a saltwater sense, Well, when I kind of think about it, freshwater, I don't think it. In my mind, until I heard that, I didn't really think it applied that much. Until he said I used the loons to relocate the school of fish. Well, obviously much faster. He would obviously motor over and find them on the side imaging, but that kind of just blew my mind. I'm just like, okay, you can use that perspective in freshwater. It's not just a saltwater application. I thought that was nuts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I definitely use loons as a technique to find the bait for sure, because they're all over Toledo and Rayburn, and that's what they're after, is those big schools of bait. So if you see several loons diving around, then the bait, and chances are there's going to be some bass around them. So it was a cool deal. And when we were talking in the bag line before, we with his fish, that the bait moved out of the mouths of the creeks and stuff where he's caught them in the previous days, and they had to go find them in the river channel, and that's where he caught the big one the last day, and his other keepers, and just in the last couple hours. And I think that's what happened to my fish. I had a couple of schools that were kind of close to the river channel, and the bait left, and I'm assuming now that they went to the river. But I just didn't. I don't have Panoptic live scope, so that was something that I couldn't duplicate that he was doing. You know, I'm fishing groups of fish that were 20 to 50 bass sitting in a school, and then I'm throwing a Carolina rig, a underspin, and a crankbait through them, and that's how I was catching my fish. So the bait not being on those areas caused the bass to leave, and so that's why. Like I had my weight, about 13 pounds at 9:30. Wood was on me taking pictures, and the wind was blowing, you know, that morning, and the bait was on that. And when the wind flicked off, the bait left, and the bass left, and I caught a few more small ones on some spots, but never in the nail.
Yeah, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I guess I'm thinking in my mind too. You know that this tournament was 3 weeks, a month ago ish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So naturally, when in my mind, the way I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please do, because if I'm wrong, I would like to know I'm wrong. When it's colder water, bait fish or fish in general kind of like to group up. So naturally, you know, when the water is colder, they're more grouped up. So if that school moves, it's harder to find them than when it's warmer and they're a little bit more spread out. Is that correct, or am I off there?
Yeah, no, the cold water really groups them up, and it really groups them, and even it sometimes like out in the river, like Cody, figured them out that last day. Once it starts warming up, that's when they leave the really deep areas and start migrating to the creeks and stuff, and that's what's happening right now on Toledo. Water temps getting back up in the high 50s, so the bait's dispersing amongst these big balls of bait. You can still graph like the creeks and still find big balls of bait, but they're definitely moving back to the creeks.
Yeah, I guess like the point I was trying to get at with that was that, you know, with that colder water and they group up more, that it's easier for you to lose track of them than when it's warmer and they're kind of spread out where you can find multiple different schools. I guess when it's colder, there's less schools, but obviously more bait fish in them, so it's kind of easier for you to lose that school. Is what I guess I was trying to get at. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting though how he kind of mentioned how 99% of his fish were caught on a spoon, and that 1% was watching panoptics of like 3 or 4 fish that would be swimming 7 foot from the surface, and he just cast a small swim bait and watch him come eat it. Like it's crazy. Like I feel like his tournament was staring at a screen instead of most of the other guys who kind of glance at your sonar, your side imaging, and then you're pretty much focused on the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's got to be a nerve-wracking way to fish. Is he said he put his trolling motor on, 8 or 9, and just keeps going around. When he sees a ball of bait, he'll reverse real hard and then look, see if there's any bass around. But the way he talked, he said, man, it was stressful that last day. I think he said he had 2 fish at like 1:30, and we had to check in at 3. And he said so he didn't know if it was going to happen, but he got lucky, found the bait out at the river channel and ended up making that happen. But man, that technology is just absolutely changing the game. Not just down here. It's changing the game everywhere. Okay? I can see it. We fish a lot of brush piles in the summer. I can see it playing a big player in brush piles. Being able to see where a fish is set up inside that pile, and I can throw a jig. If I see it on the left side, and so, man, the skills that you can accumulate with that technology is unreal.
Dude, it's nuts. Soon enough, when everybody has that, it might actually kind of maybe level out the playing field again. But it's nuts the advantage you get from that. It's crazy. It's like you said, it's changing the game. Like, so many people use the term game changer, but this time they actually mean it when it is a game changer. Like it's nuts.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of exciting. I mean, I know I need to get my hands on it. I want it really bad. But it's
I've got to break down and get it. That sucker's expensive, but I know once I get it, I can become a better angler.
Oh yeah,
break down and go buy it.
Yeah, not only does it'll help you find fish. It helps you find fish, but it also helps you take less time out of your practice days or even tournament days to find the fish. But also, it kind of helps you key in on certain behaviors, like when you're fishing. Obviously, you're watching majority of the time. You're watching your bait and that fish eating your bait. You can kind of learn different things on how they react to, your cadence. I guess say like you're using a jerk bait, and you're doing one cadence that you're used to. It's your confidence, but they're not hitting it. You kind of mix it up. You can see how they react to it. So it's kind of cool how if you kind of put it in perspective how those different things can teach you certain stuff. But you would never think about it. Most guys, especially the traditional guys, be like, oh, it's video game fishing. It's not real. It's cheating. Sometimes you get some of that. But like for Cody Huff, for example, how he's teaching Rick Clunn how to use Panoptics. Like that's crazy to me. How he, teaching one of the legends. Yeah, teaching old dog new tricks.
Yeah. Now, you took the words out of my mouth. So I was like, you can teach old dog new tricks, huh?
That's too funny, man. But kind of leaning like more towards talking about the pros. While we were Klon in that conversation, Bassmaster Classics next weekend. In your professional opinion, what looking at baits and then maybe give me a couple anglers. What do you think it's going to be one on bait wise, and who do you think is going to stand out?
Man, knowing Guntersville a little bit, and the grass that it has, and this time of year, and just what they should be doing. I mean, everybody says a trap, a rattle trap, a red-eye shad, whichever, lipless crankbait, whichever one you like to throw. It's going to play a big role. Everybody knows it. That red color, red crawfish, something Rayburn red, something like that. It's going to play a big. But I have a lot of confidence in Chatterbait. And I know a lot of guys do, but you got to look back at Paul Mueller last time that the Classic was at Guntersville, and he had a 30-pound bag on a Chatterbait. So I'm looking for some guys to really excel with a Chatterbait. Those dudes that love to throw it. I know if I was fishing it, it'd be hard for me because it's a great pre-spawn technique bait to have, especially around hydrilla. So I'm looking for a Chatterbait and a red-eye shad to really play big roles.
Interesting. Now, how good of a start to 2020 would that be if Paul Mueller won the Classic after he just won the first stop of the elites?
I know he's going to have a lot of confidence. I know I would, coming off a win, going to a lake that you've done really well in the past. I expect him to do pretty well. He's actually one of my picks on fantasy fishing, so hopefully he don't let me down, but I'd like to see him do pretty well.
That's a good thing you just mentioned fantasy fishing because I forgot to update my lineup, so I need to go do that. It's a good thing you mentioned that. Yeah.
But also, like I said earlier, my buddy Daryl Gleason, he's fishing it. He's really good in the pre-spawn. Toledo and Rayburn have hydrilla, and so he's a good grass fisherman. and
Yeah.
I really hope he does well. And I think he will. I think he'll make the final day, and I hope he can pull that thing off. I know we'll be partying if he does for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Will you be in attendance of the classic?
Yeah. I'll be there with B&M. I go every year to the classic ICAST. Work a bunch of expos with them. Have since I was in college and working in the warehouse. That
Awesome.
I've been doing for a while and love to do it. So I'll be there.
Sweet. I'm 95%. I'm still waiting on the last okay. I got a bunch of guys from work telling me to go. I work for obviously Douglas now, Douglas Rod, so I'll be there in attendance to that. So we're gonna have to link up and maybe get on some fish too if there's time to get out. But I know one stop I'm gonna make if I do go down. I don't know if you follow or listen to Luke Duncan's podcast, but he's throwing down apparently down at the Classic, some local bar doing a live podcast and singing. It's gonna be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'll go to that, but hoping to get that last okay because I want to make it down there and see a bunch of people. There's a bunch of guys like yourself who I've had on the podcast that are going to be down there, and I've never actually. Obviously I feel like I've met you before because what we're doing right now, but it's like I've never actually formally introduced myself, so I'm pretty excited. Hope I can get down there, but it's gonna be pretty sweet,
Yeah,
man.
man.
It's
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, cool.
yeah. So I know you have a very tough life being a guide on, two really tough lakes of Rayburn and Toledo. But well, if you could put any any pros and cons on being a guide down there in between Rayburn and Toledo, what would you say?
Uh, Man, it's a lot of pros. Uh, I get to go out with a lot of people that I've never met, and just go have fun days on the water. It's always a cool deal to meet new people and talk and just hear their life stories and just share stories like that, fishing stories, hunting stories. It doesn't matter. I like to hear them all, and it's always a fun deal when we can go out and catch them. But I guess the con is it can be stressful, especially right now this time of year, that transition time of year when fish are constantly on the move. It can be like I said, be stressful to go out the next day and maybe one day catch 20 to 30, and then weather change. We got a cold front that's hitting tonight. Actually, it's going to be 30 degrees in the morning. Go out tomorrow and hope to catch one.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that I take out, they know it's fishing, not catching. It's such a cliche, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
But I guess another pro to guiding is I can work on techniques that I don't have a lot of confidence in. Say I'm up shallow and catch them on a chatterbait, something I love to do and have the utmost confidence in it. I can give my clients a chatterbait, let them catch them on a chatterbait, and pick up a jerkbait, something I don't have a lot of confidence in, and throw a jerkbait and try to catch some fish and get confidence in it myself. So that's something that I've really worked towards, become a better angler, and guiding has helped that for sure, learning new techniques and getting confidence in those types of deals.
Dude, that's cool. I thought about that aspect where you can, like you said, you give your clients something will work, but then trying to expand your skill set and trying something like you said, you don't have much confidence in. That's cool. That's
Right.
smart. I don't know how many guides kind of utilize that. I feel like a lot of them probably use their confidence bait to find the fish and then kind of hand the rod over. I don't know. That's how my mind
Yeah.
works. That's cool. Is that
Yeah.
something you picked up yourself? Is that something
I
you got from Gleason?
Yeah, no, that's something that I just kind of developed myself. Is that, and then I'm there for the clients, man.
Yeah.
I don't if I get a bite on a chatterbait and I know that, and if the conditions are right, I automatically give them the rod and me pick up something, a jerkbait or drag a jig out off in deeper water or something like that, and if I'm fishing offshore, fishing school to fish in the summertime, with clients, give them a Carolina rig and a big worm, something that they always eat out deep here on Toledo. a splutter spoon or a underspin or something. That's what I worked with a lot last summer with those two baits, and that underspin I actually got a lot of confidence in, and it role for me in that FLW event here at Toledo. I've seen me getting confidence in a bait from guiding and play a role in the tournament, so it definitely worked.
Yeah. You ever try experimenting a little bit with some big swim baits or glide baits or anything like that?
I haven't, and I am this year. I'm looking forward to to getting some of those mega bass, maggrass, and throwing those this year. So,
I know exactly what you're talking about, man. I just actually won a bunch in a giveaway, and I liked them so much, I kind of picked up a few, and a buddy gave me a couple that we kind of traded for him for some tungsten and some jerk baits. But it's like I got some of the smaller ones, I got some of the 8-inchers, and then I don't know if I'm gonna throw it up here in New York because I know a Northern's probably gonna take it from me, but I got a 10-incher too. But I hear you on that. I'm excited to try to dwell into the whole swim bait game.
Yeah, because it's about to really get the shallot deal is going to get really good here on Toledo and Rayburn in the next 2 months, and I get my clients a chatterbait, a pork shad, which is a fluke style bait that V&M makes, chopstick, which is Cinco's, and then just all, and I'm definitely going to get me a few maggrass and see if I can catch a true giant out here.
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing that kind of intrigued me in them, and I have not spent money on these swim baits. Like guys will go and they'll spend $200 on them. To me, I'm broke, so I can't afford anything like that, and I don't have any confidence in them. But the one thing that really intrigued me the most, catching aside, was all these stories that guys have shown of their success. Of they're not throwing these swim baits to catch fish. They're throwing these swim baits to find those big fish that will follow it, and they will have, how you have like so like you're throwing a frog, you have a cast back, like your second setup ready, like a Senko or something. When you have a blow up, something misses it, you have your cast back setup right there. Guys will do that with swim baits. So like they use it as a search bait. They see it following, they'll bring it to the boat. If they don't hit it, they'll toss the Senko right back in. That's what kind of I'm curious about, is just trying to use it as a search bait more than just catching fish. If I catch it, perfect. But I'm such a visual person, so I feel like if that's as good of a search bait as people say it is, I am super excited to start throwing that thing just to see what follows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, New York, it's gonna be a lot of northern.
Kennedy, Steve Kennedy, he's a big swim bait guy. Definitely in practice, he's a big swim bait a lot in practice to locate big fish. I had a friend of mine that was a marshal for him in an elite series on Toledo the year KVD won it down here, and he just picked his brain, about that swim bait, and he said, man, it's a very great tool to use in practice to really locate big fish, because they follow it. You'll follow it out, and you'll drop a waypoint, then go back, or swim bait or a Senko or something like that, and catch them. So I'm looking forward to getting it, throwing it out here and see what happens.
Yeah, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if he did win it or not, but I remember because I went on a huge binge a couple of years ago watching all of the Elite Series tournaments that were on YouTube that were archived, and there was a Clear Lake tournament where all the guys were throwing like Huddlestons and everything. But I thought Steve Kennedy either won it or he was a really close contender. I'm
not sure which event you were talking about, but I guarantee if it was a swim bait deal, he's probably in the mix somewhere for sure.
There was a Clear Lake bass tournament. It was elite tournament on Clear Lake that was on YouTube, and there's guys posting 30-pound bags. 25 was like, if you had 25 pounds, you might make the top 40. It looked like it was just like when Clear Lake was at its prime of just big bass. But maybe I didn't see. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my mind. But I'm gonna have to go back and share that with you if I can find it after this video. Now it's bugging me because I don't know if I'm right or if I'm just making up some dream. But I'll have to go look. But yeah, I'm super excited. I know I had Alton Jones on a while ago, Alton Jones Jr., and he's a big believer in the mag draft, especially around that Texas area. So it works. You know, I think that's something that could be a big factor for a lot of people. You see it growing, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, that's one thing I kind of want to see more in tournaments was just watching a guy throw a big swim bait. Like Zaldane, he's probably the one who's going to do it the most, is throwing a big swim bait and actually use it as a factor in the tournament scene, which is going to be pretty interesting. I want to see that happen. A guy
Yeah,
just
he's always the big one like that.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious on. I have a question for you that kind of popped up in my brain. So you've been guiding on Rayburn and Toledo. If you could choose another lake or another set of lakes beyond obviously Rayburn and Toledo that you would love to guide on or learn to kind of like expand on to become a guide on, what lakes would you choose?
I'd choose that Tennessee River chain,
Okay.
uh, Pickwick, Kentucky Lake, Wheeler, Huntersville. That yeah, I've got we've had several tournaments on Pickwick, and that's my favorite lake away from home, especially in the summertime. They group out on them ledges, and like I said, that's my favorite way to catch a big, big worm, big jig, that kind of stuff. So, and Kentucky Lake, sets up the same way Gunnersville does it. So that's the lakes I would choose to definitely learn more, and if I ever had a chance to do some guiding, that's where I'd go for sure.
It's pretty sweet. So I guess, do you feel out of your element when you go north then?
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a lot of smallmouth experience. The little bit I do,
Yeah.
uh, had fun doing it, but it's definitely something that I'm ready to, have some tournaments up there and to get up there and expand my knowledge on that kind of stuff. So that's definitely my weak point in my game for sure.
Yeah, because the smallmouth up here react entirely different than the smallmouth on like Pickwick. They act entirely different.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that was one thing that who was brought it up? I think it was Alton that brought it up actually. That kind of got my mind really thinking. I think it was Alton. I probably got that wrong, but we were discussing how there's two strains of largemouth, that there might be two strains of smallmouth. There might like a southern and a northern strain, because in my mind, I feel like Pickwick smallmouth, you might have a 3 pounder in the south that is like 21 inches or 20 inches long, like they're much longer, but even you have like a 21 incher up north, it's probably like a 5 pounder. The bellies get so much bigger up north. At least that's in my mind. They grow longer in the south, but I don't know. It's an interesting topic to kind of dwell into.
yeah, no, I
Yeah,
could see that for sure. Definitely the ones I've caught in Pickwick are much longer and skinnier than the ones I've caught, out of Lake Michigan, Sturgeon Bay area. So
yeah. It's like it's kind of interesting that the fact like the length versus girth and trying to, I guess, like us as anglers, how we visually try to weigh the fish before we put them on the scale. So like for me, I'm so used to the northern fish, obviously. So like when I was watching today the MLF guys out in Florida, and they would pick up one that say it's 4 pounds, and I'm looking at them like, that looks like a 2, but apparently it's 4 pounds, just because they're just built, their bodies is built entirely different. So it's like I'm sitting there, I'm like, I gotta get used to like learn like different visuals of fish. It's obviously it's hard because it's on TV, you're not there in person, but it's kind of interesting how they're built into the different corners of the nation. So it's kind of fun to play around with. But yeah. So what are you
yeah,
looking
for sure.
most forward to this year for your tournament season?
Uh, uh, man, I'm looking forward to the other two Toyota series for the Southwest. For Gibson in Oklahoma at the beginning of April. I've had one college tournament there in the past, a little bit later in the year. But I'm looking forward to get up there. I kind of know what the lake looks like and some areas that hold them. So I'm looking forward to get up there. And then the other one is at Sam Rayburn in October. So that's I love that month out there on that lake. I'm hoping it's going to be offshore. Hopefully it stays kind of hot. Hopefully have a late summer, and I'll keep fish offshore for me. But if it doesn't, I think the grass, the hydrillers will back and play another role in that tournament. So maybe have to do a little both. Maybe do some grass flipping, with a big weight to catch a few, and then maybe catch a big kicker out of a brush pile. So I'm really looking forward to that tournament.
Like, yeah, that sounds like a blast to me. That definitely sounds like I get so jealous of a lot of you. Yeah, you guys below, I guess, Pennsylvania. Everybody has so much structure in their lakes, and I get so jealous because I live in these glacier lakes in New York that are just big bowls of grass and have. I mean, sure, there's little rock piles here and there if you know about it and you can find them. But dude, there is nothing for structure besides docks, and it's so disappointing because like you hear about these guys in the brush piles and you see these stump flats and everything, and you're like, see, that just looks amazing, but I don't have that crap up here. Like I wish I did. It's just it's tough to locate schools up here. I mean, unless you're good with your electronics, it's like there's not much to relate to beyond docks. And it sucks because docks are so easy to fish. So your average Joe can go catch a whole bunch of fish when you're busting your butt to try to find certain offshore fishing patterns when everybody's catching them up on docks simple. You don't want to do that. So I don't know. It's frustrating living in the north. Even though I'm complaining, I'm definitely spoiled with the fisheries I have. But it is what it is. But one of my questions to you is, so you're at that FLW that stage right now. What is, if you could choose your path to the top, what would be your desired path you would take if you could choose it?
Like as far as FLW, MLF, or bass, in that direction?
Yeah, like if you were, so like are you going to keep chasing what you're at to go to, the FLW Pro Circuit, then to MLF, or are you staying in FLW where you're at right now, like the Toyota Series, for a little while, and then going to maybe the Opens and then bass? Like what's kind of your desired path?
Man, the dream path, honestly, would be to go bass. I'm not fishing Opens this year, but I will be next year. Just that name, man, Bassmaster. To fish the Classic, opportunity to fish that, man. That's what every bass fisherman dreams about. I mean, all this, MLF is all new and stuff, and if I have my opportunity to go, I definitely won't pass it up. But and that's I'm trying to fish for that pro circuit right now. I got a good start at the Toledo event. Fifth place finish, so I'm sitting fifth in points. Top five is going to get an invite to fish that pro circuit. If the Lord blesses me and I go have a good event at Gibson and then another good event at Rayburn and end up in that top five in points, I'm gonna do everything I can to make that next move for the cricket. So I won't pass up the opportunity if it occurs, for sure.
Oh, 100%. And I think, obviously, you made a huge point with that bass name. Like, even people who don't know much about fishing in general know what the bass logo looks like. You understand what that is.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. It's what they have attributed to it. Now they have like their kayak series, which is bringing a lot of heat to the industry because, guys, the Classic's in conjunction with the national championship for the kayak series. So that gives kayak anglers an opportunity to not have an $80,000 bass boat, but still have an opportunity to walk across the stage, which is unbelievable what they're doing over there. But and also on the flip side,
exactly.
what they're kind of doing, and I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of getting rid of like the Forcewood Cup and everything, but I'm also not the best businessman, so I have no opinion here. At least that matters.
Right.
But I do like what they're doing with the format because not every angler fits that 5-fish format. And that's what some people like to do. They like to kind of fit their needs, their styles. And I think it's really cool though. I like the rule change they made with the minimum. I thought that kind of it made a good factor to the certain styles and kind of, you know, it kind of cooled down the disgruntled fan looking at 1 pounders caught all over the place. It kind of made him like think, okay, all right, maybe I can actually watch this now, and guys won't be going after. You won't have your. Not saying it wasn't cool, like it wasn't awesome, but you're probably not going to have your Edwin Evers, 31 pounders and 30 casts kind of ordeal. You're going to have guys kind of going back
Right.
to their same styles of fishing that they would in a 5 fish format, but this time every fish is going to count. So it's kind of cool how they twisted it up. I'm always interested in kind of the different strategies and different things mentally that anglers will go through. And I enjoy both. But again, my opinion doesn't matter. I'm just the average Joe sitting at home talking to people over Skype. So
Yeah, well, man, I agree with you 100%. The 2 pound minimum now is was a great thing for MLF. And I'll be honest with you, last year I might have watched 30 minutes to an hour a total of live throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
And man, I kept up with it, for these past 2 events, and really kept up with it for this one. And that's what I did all day. I didn't have a guide trip today because the wind blew like 25 miles an hour here. So all I did was watch championship round. So, and it was fun, and I think some of those guys, kind of went back to their old ways, trying to catch, some giants like Jordan Lee today. He weighed in 3 fish. I think he had 3 for like 15 something, and then he lost like another giant, like 7-8 pounder maybe. So it's as a tournament angler that likes the 5 fish format, it definitely has more appeal to. It was a good thing for me as a tournament angler to watch that.
Yeah. There's a lot of different factors that play into it, and it's kind of make things interesting. But it's kind of cool to kind of watch the anglers adjust by year. That it was obviously different last year to watch them adjust to different tournaments this year, especially for like folks like Dudley and Thrift who came from FLW. They had rule changes going into MLF this year. They got thrown into the fire, and both of them did well. I think both of them placed in top 20. I mean, Thrift was second, I think. And that's, he's going to catch him no matter what. Yeah. I look.
They're 2 awesome anglers.
Yeah. It's for Thrift. I kind of look at him and I look at the rest of the field. Like the rest of the field is all these anglers that are dedicated, put their time in. And I look at Thrift and I feel like he's like that one kid in high school who takes school so seriously. So he's always prepping, like he's studying things. He's going over rule changes, going by the book. Entirely, I look at Thrift at a whole nother level of preparation than anybody else. I don't know why. He just kind of puts that preparation off. Like, see, when you look at his boat deck, that's what he's known for. It's the cleanest boat deck in the country. Yeah, ridiculous. But yeah, I feel like we could talk about that forever. I think that's a whole nother podcast we could have talking about that. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna transition into that the last question segment I have for you. And obviously I've already asked you, your 3 you'd invite to dinner and your favorite fishing memory and whatnot. But I'm gonna twist it up on you now. I got kind of a curious question that I'm gonna ask you. My last 2 questions, and then I'll let you go here. Because your guide, it kind of popped in my head. If you were to pick somebody in the fishing realm of things to be your guide somewhere, who would you choose to be your guide?
Oh man, that's pretty good. That's deep. Man, I think I'm gonna go Brian Thrift.
All right.
Dude, he's just I mean, how can you not pick somebody like that? The kind of success that he's had. He's so meticulous about everything. Just to pick his brain about way fish move and transition and stuff like that. I like to be in a boat with him and just kind of pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like if he's your guide and you're going out and he's kind of teaching you different things during the day, you better have that GoPro strapped to your brim, your voice recorder on your iPhone, and you're recording all day long.
Yes.
Not to miss a single bit. I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah. Exactly.
And even if you don't like, and obviously you're gonna pick up like fishing tips and organization tips, but you're gonna just pick up the small details that might help you be a little bit more efficient on the water. I feel like he is just the epitome of efficient. You know, that's how I look at him. And but it's interesting. So my last question for you, and I'm gonna try to twist it a little bit because I asked you your favorite fishing memory. The last one, unfortunately, no one's gonna be able to hear that now because I'm the dummy. But obviously, you had a great finish at Toledo, 5th place. But if you could name a tournament that sticks out to you in your career thus far, what was your favorite tournament that you competed in?
uh, I'm gonna go with a college tournament, and I'm gonna go with the wild card event at Lake Murray in Oklahoma. The one that in 2016, the BASS that me and Johnny won. Man, that was a cool deal. You know, it was a 3-day event. Won it on a chatterbait. You know, go figure, me and a chatterbait. Out of a little patch of hydrilla that people just overlooked. It was out off the bank, and we had I think upper 15 the first day, and actually caught most of those flipping bushes. We kind of had a little 1-2 deal going. We spent most of the morning flipping bushes and stuff like that, catching fish, and then we moved out to that late day when the wind started blowing on it, and then we would catch a couple kickers. But and then the second day we had 17 something, moved into the lead, and was leading the event going in the final day. So we had a camera crew, and and got our little 15 minutes of fame on ESPN, and ended up dropping like an 18:10 is what we weighed on the final day to win the event. So, and it was in conjunction with Bass Fest that was going on at Texoma, and I think Hackney won that event. So, but we weighed in on the elite series stage, which was just down the road. So to win that event on an elite series stage with elite guys out in the crowd because they had a media day or expo day, watching, and that was cool. So if anybody wants to go watch that, that was the BASS College Regionals 2016 Part 2. You can go on YouTube, type that in, and we're at the end of that event, or at the end of that episode. So it's a pretty cool deal.
I'm gonna have to find that link and put it down in the description so everybody can go down after this and go watch. Yeah, I'll have to do that for sure. I'm gonna have to go watch that right after. Yeah, right after I find that Clear Lake video that I might be dreaming of. I have to figure out if that's actually real or not, but I'm pretty sure. Sure. Yeah. If it is real, I'll link that down too, just to show that I'm not crazy. So, well.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you're right.
Yeah, I hope so. Otherwise, I think I'm going senile already, and I'm 22. So it is what it is. But
hey,
man, I appreciate you coming on, especially the second time. You could have easily told me to shut up and shove it for screwing up the first podcast. But I appreciate you coming on. This is a blast. So I really hope I can make it down to the Classic. I'd love to run into you, spend some time, get to actually talk to you in person. So. Appreciate you coming on, and hopefully I see you a week from tomorrow. So it's gonna be a blast.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, man. No, I appreciate you letting me. Like, yes, man, you got a good thing going, and I'm happy for you. Hope you get down to the Classic. If you ever get down this way, man, you got a guy trip waiting on you. So just come on, man.
Careful what you ask for. I might be there for a week. If you get me on Toledo and Sam Rayburn, I might not leave. I might move.
I hear you. Hey, I just had a trip from guys from Chicago, and they're staying like 2 weeks. So.
Oh my gosh!
You won't be the first time.
At least you know that means you're doing a good job. So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's fun.
All right, man. Well, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk a little bit offline here, but thank you again for coming on, and appreciate what you do, and looking forward to see you progress for the rest of the season.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, have a good night.
Later.
So that was a great conversation with Justin. I'm glad to have him back on. Glad he doesn't hate me after ruining the first episode. But that was a great conversation with him. I really hope I can get down to the Classic next week to meet up with him, meet up with a bunch of guys that I've had on the podcast, like Mikey. Hopefully Benjamin Nowak. He texted me he might be going. Destin Demarion. Hopefully link up with him. Ronnie Moore. Bunch of different guys I hope to link up with and actually talk to in person. I'm used to talking to them over the phone, over Skype, but not actually face to face. I'm pretty excited to get down there. Hopefully, I get the okay from the head honcho over at Douglas. So, again, super happy to have Justin on here. Incredible angler. He's going places. An amazing guide if you're in the Texas area, or even if you're visiting Texas, you're in the Central America area. Check him out. He'll hook you up. He'll get you on some fish. Great dude. Can't wait to have him on after the few Toyota Series tournaments this year and just kind of hear about that and how things went. Hopefully by that time he'll have qualified for the pro circuit. So hopefully that happens. I'm rooting for him. But if you guys have not already, go check out Douglas Spin and Cast on Instagram and Facebook. Follow them. We have high premium rods. I'm going to create some videos on the different rods that I have, but go give them a follow. You will not be disappointed. I'm taking over the Instagram over there. So I expect big things to blow up from there. So it's going to be pretty sweet. We're doing amazing stuff over at Douglas. If you're not already as well, go down the description. Follow Justin on all of his social medias. Watch that video that I have linked in there of him and his buddy winning that college tournament. And as well, subscribe to our YouTube channel down below, the Egbert Outdoors YouTube channel. If you don't want to listen to this podcast on YouTube, you can head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Anchor app, the Angler app, and then you can listen to us there. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.